guys, how's it going? Today we're in the studio getting ready to start some seeds. I'm going to be starting one variety using the traditional method where they will stay in here under grow lights until it's warm enough to move them out into the greenhouse. And then the rest of them I'm going to be using the winter sowing method, which is an amazing way to start seeds. It doesn't require any special equipment and you get really strong seedlings. I've been doing it for the past few years and have really just enjoyed it. It's a fun process. It's a very low maintenance, kind of hands-off process, which I love. I do want to show you what it looks like outside though first. Isn't that gorgeous? It is an absolute winter wonderland out here. Seed starting seems like a great thing to do on a day like today. I also have a small order of seeds from Baker Creek I want to open in the end and show you what I have. I've already put in or have all of my big orders of seeds for the cut flower garden, the ones I'm going to be starting in here, and direct seeding straight out in the soil. But you know how we get in the wintertime. We start scrolling through those seed websites and I ordered some obscure stuff. So anyway, I thought you guys might be interested to see. So we've got both boys in here with us today. You guys need to behave. So winter sowing is essentially another method of starting seeds, one in which we get to plant the seeds in a container like this one, which I've already kind of prepped, and I'll go through the whole process. But we're going to plant them today, pop them right outside in the snow in the middle of winter, and basically hands off the project until they're up and ready to plant outside. Unless you have a really long dry period, you may need to add a little bit of moisture. That's something that I have to watch for mine, but a lot of areas you're getting enough rainfall and snow for them to have plenty of moisture to come up. And the benefit is that these seeds that are in here, when they germinate and start to grow, they've got this little mini greenhouse top on them. You can see that the cap is no longer on this container anymore, so it will still breed. But they get to grow on a little bit more of a natural cycle along with the cycle of the weather outside. They're also hardier because they're outside subjected to the cold. You don't have to harden off seedlings, and that can be one of the hardest things. You know, you may have seeds underneath grow lights inside, and then you've got that little brief period where you need to start introducing them to outside weather, and that can be tricky because if you forget that your seeds are out there and they get subjected to sun for too long or too much wind, you can wipe out a whole bunch of work that you just put into these seedlings because they can't survive it because they have to build up their tolerance little by little. You don't have that worry with winter sowing seeds, which is awesome. I also like huge benefit of winter sowing. You don't have to have any special equipment. So no grow lights, no special trays, humidity domes, no heat mats, no tending to them every single day to make sure that they're, you know, moist enough and all of that. So I feel like they're a really good option for maybe beginners who don't really want to invest in all of that equipment yet. Maybe you just want to get your feet wet with a little bit of seed starting, see how it goes. It's also a huge space saver. So if you don't want to have, you know, seed trays and stuff all over your house or your kitchen table or that sort of thing, or you don't want to put a shelving unit up in your house with grow lights, I think it's a really good option. It's also really inexpensive. So we're out pretty much just the price of our seeds, because this right here, I mean, a lot of us have milk jugs that you can rinse out and use, or orange juice containers, basically any container like this one that allows light in. So it either needs to be clear, or this milky kind of container is fine that allows plenty of light. This is just a water jug that is empty. They work really, really well. Now with winter sowing though, you do want to make sure that you are planting the appropriate seeds, especially this early. I mean, you can do winter sowing with tomatoes and peppers and things like that, but you wouldn't want to start those until later on, especially if you live in a really cold climate. So the stuff we're starting right now, like the stuff I'm starting now, you want to look for some keywords on your seed packets, either things that you know are perennial in your area, like Echinacea is perennial in my area, a great one to winter sow. This one right here, the poppies, say that they need to freeze for at least 1 month before sowing in spring. So they'll get that naturally in this container. I won't have to put these in the freezer inside and then start my seeds. So that is called a stratification period. If that word is on a seed packet, that they need a cold period or a stratification period, they just need that cold in order to trigger their germination. So they'll get that naturally. You'll also want to look for words like hardy or cold tolerant. So the things right now, like in January, that I can be starting are, let me just go through what I have here. I've got Arrowleaf Balsamroot. This is not a complete list either. There are groups out there you can join. Like I think there's a really good Facebook group out there and some really good articles you can read about what works well. And sometimes it's fun to experiment too. Poppies are a good one. Lupins right here, and then milkweed. These are the ones we're going to be using the winter sowing method with today. So you can do things, the more warm season crops later on. I probably wouldn't winter sow those here until about sometime in March. That way it's warmed up enough to where if they do sprout, typically the little greenhouse container will keep them warm enough to keep them happy. And then, like I said, I'm going to be doing one seed right here. This is a Verbascum. I'm going to be starting these in the traditional tray, which this is kind of interesting. These are not quite traditional. It's not a typical, just a pot. These are called root trainers. So these are great for plants like this that have a long taproot and don't like their roots to be disturbed. So they have plenty of room to grow. When you're ready to transplant them, you pop them open like this and you can take the root ball out without messing up their roots. And it says on the packet that if we start them as early as January, we may see blooms this year. So that's one of the reasons why I wanted to sneak that one seed in here, even though we're not winter sowing it. I don't know, maybe we'll try a few in the jugs, see what happens. So the supplies are very few for winter sowing. We already kind of went through what kind of container, something that will allow light in. You can see I've already cut this one. We're going to create that little greenhouse top. You want to make sure to create drain holes. I should have done that before I cut the top, but we're going to create a few drain holes in the bottom. You can warm up a nail or something if you want and push that through, or just if your plastic is flimsy enough, I'm going to pop 4 holes in it. So you have your container and a method in which to cut it. We've got some tape. This is just white duct tape. And then this is a garden marker right here. They don't wear off as quick as Sharpies do outside. So I'm just going to mark what is in each container on the tape, and we're going to be using the tape to close up our container once we're done planting. And then of course you need your seeds and your soil. And for winter sowing, my very first year I started with seed starting mix, which is a loftier blend. I'll be using that for the Verbascum because they're going to be inside. But for winter sowing, it's best to use, I'm using the organic potting mix here. I already have some sitting here in this bowl because it will help retain enough moisture outside. And because we're so dry here, it was really helpful the next time I did winter sowing. When I used this, I noticed everything stayed moist for a lot longer. So the procedure here is really simple. We want to take our potting mix and pre-moisten it. That's pretty important because it'll help the soil settle in our container. So when we go to water our seeds in initially, which is basically the only time we're going to hopefully need to water them, the seeds won't dislodge. On dry soil, they seem to want to float around and stuff. So I've got a watering can here, and we're going to add in just enough moisture to where like the soil will kind of clump together in my hand, but we don't want excess moisture dripping from it. And these will freeze outside, you guys. Like, they'll freeze today, and that's okay, because a lot of these seeds, the ones we're planting at this time of the year, they need that. And they freeze outside all the time and come up great. Kind of have to think about how these plants naturally grow. Last year I started artichokes winter sowing. I did pincushion flowers, rudbeckias, larkspur. Oh boy, I did a bunch of other things that I can't remember and had pretty good luck. I did let them dry out a little bit at one period, and so I think that I may have had better luck had I kept a little closer of an eye, but we had a really dry winter last year. And I'm hoping, based on today, we have moisture enough to bring these seeds up. Really, the only con I can see to winter sowing is the look of the containers. And you know, that's a pretty flimsy, I guess, a flimsy con. There's a lot of times we've got little back areas where we can tuck things like this. Like, I'm gonna tuck these behind the greenhouse. I won't even see them, which will mean I need to set an alarm on my phone to go check them about every, I don't know, 10 to 14 days or so, make sure that they're moist enough. But yeah, that's really the only thing. The other, I guess, would be is if you don't go through containers like that, you can go to coffee shops, and oftentimes they'll save all their milk containers for you. And it's a really great way to recycle those things. Okay, I think we're close here. I actually don't even have that many containers today. I only have I have 6 water jugs today that I'm gonna be starting. And then I just intend on kind of keeping my little station stocked over here. And then as I gather these containers, I'll add more to the mix out there. Okay, so this is perfect. See how when I squeeze it, like I'm squeezing with all my might here, it holds together, but I don't really, like, a little drip. Hardly any moisture is like dripping from it. We don't want it to be soggy. Then we're going to take our container, which has 4 drain holes in the bottom. Drain holes are important, and we're going to fill it. You could also use takeaway containers that have a clear top, or like containers that a chicken comes in. In the deli, they have like the black bottom and then the clear top. Those work as well. And I lightly tamp it down just to make sure that I don't have any air pocket issues. Here we go, that's perfect. We're gonna start with the Showy Milkweed. I love the blooms on this one. There's the big globes that are kind of that soft lavender pink, really good food source for monarch caterpillars. And I just really wanna have more plants out there for butterflies. Now, when you go to seed something like this in one of these jugs, you can seed them really heavily if you want to. And then when you go to plant them outside, you can separate the plants just gently and plant them out. I typically like to do them a little less thick. I did that last year to where I just did 5 planting sites. That way when I came in, it was almost like they were planted in their own pots because I could easily separate them and I didn't have any root disturbance. I'm gonna go a little bit thicker this year, I think, just in case I mess up and let them dry out. I don't know, I wanna just assure the best kind of germination. So I'm gonna do 9 planting sites in here this year. So I'm making little indentations about 1/8 of an inch deep here. And then I'm gonna pop some seeds in. They're kind of like a flat disc. There we go. And see, I could go outside. I've done this before, and you can pop seeds out at this time of year. Well, maybe not right on top of the snow, but if you kind of break some of the snow away and put them down, or if you don't have snow yet. But my problem is just keeping them moist enough because sometimes it just gets so bone dry out there that the seeds are so close to the surface that I gotta grab my soil, that they dry out and blow away. So anyway, I feel like this will assure that I at least have some plants. I might go ahead and spread some of those once I can see the soil again. Okay, so that's done. Now I gotta grab my spray bottle, which is nearby-ish. We're just gonna water them in really well. And again, remember, this may be the only time you have to water them until you're ready to plant them out. Isn't that amazing? As opposed to like, I have to come in here every single day, sometimes twice a day, to double check on my seedlings to make sure that they haven't dried out. Nice to have some things that are not fussy. And since we started with pre-moistened soil, this part is really easy because we don't have to thoroughly moisten the whole container. Okay, so we're gonna close this up and get it taped. And you can see right here, I have the name on the milk jug, or water jug, I should say. And that one is done. So I'm gonna do the same thing, but let me show you how I cut open one of these. The process will be exactly the same. I'm just gonna follow the instructions on the packet. So lupins and poppies are also 1/8 of an inch deep. Our balsam root, 1/4 of an inch deep. So I just follow the planting instructions on the packet in terms of depth. But I'm gonna do 9 planting sites for each one of the containers. But here's how I cut it. So I take a razor blade, and we don't wanna cut through it right here where the handle is. That's where our hinge is gonna be. So we're gonna pop through here. Don't worry about labels, you can leave them on. And we're just gonna cut straight around the container. Stopping just shy, again, of the handle so that we've got a hinge, like that. Oh, I forgot to do the drain holes again. Drain holes are easier to do before you cut the container in half. But we'll just pop through, and I just kind of twist a little bit. Hop through, twist. That way excess moisture can exit the container. Okay, I'm just gonna go through and plant the rest of these. I'm gonna do the narrow milkweed next, and then we'll follow up with the other 4 varieties. all planted. I'm gonna go set them behind the greenhouse, so I'll show you where they're gonna go. And as I get more water jugs emptied out inside, I'm gonna be bringing them out here and getting them planted up. I'm hoping to have a big group of them going back there. They just are nice because they're just no fuss, other than just making sure the moisture level stays high enough. In fact, I forgot to water some of them in before I taped them up. So you just pop a spray bottle or a pump sprayer full of water through the opening and just give them a little water this way. That's how I water them if they dry out outside a little bit too much. It's just, oh, it's nice that they don't have the same insect pressure or fungal issues. You know, inside you can deal with damping off, where your seedling kind of pinches off at the bottom and flops over because it's just too high humidity with not enough airflow. You just don't have the same worries with winter sowing, and it's just a fun thing to experiment with. Even if you have some seeds that you think may not be proper, sometimes it's fun to throw them out there and see what they do. Nature's pretty amazing. So let's take these outside and then we'll get our verbascum planted. And there they are, tucked in with all of our bulb containers right here. We've got perennials and some shrubs and things that we're wintering over back here. I was really skeptical the first time I did winter sowing because it just seemed not right to put things out in the snow and the freezing temperatures, but it's amazing to see them wake up and grow. Whew, back into where it's warm. Okay, now for the verbascum, we're gonna be using the seed starting mix as opposed to the regular soil. So this right here, it's a little easier for those roots to form. And we're going to pre-moisten it the same way and pack our containers full. Woo, that's puffy. You see that? My goodness gracious, I made a huge mess. And I had my potting tray right next to me. Should have used that. All right, I gotta go get a towel. So this verbascum grows 2 to 4 feet tall. It's a zone 5 through 8. Deer resistant, drought tolerant, and a couple of interesting things that I read on the back was that it used to be called candle wick because they would dip the stalks in wax and use them as a torch. I think we should try it if they grow. And then they also, the dried stalks with seed pods are really interesting and are great for dried arrangements or for the winter garden. So anyway, let's get these in and the seeds pressed into the soil surface. I'm guessing they're really small. We'll see. Oh yeah, oh my goodness, you guys. They're like snapdragon seeds. Holy moly, okay. Do my best just to get a few seeds in each cell. Okay, well, I know I'm gonna have some major thinning to do because there's no way. Whew, there's so many seeds in here. Okay, so it says to press them into the soil surface. Done. I'm going to settle them in. And then for this one, I am going to put a humidity dome over the top, at least until they're all germinated, especially with seeds that you're just pressing into the soil surface. It's really easy for them to dry out if they're not protected that way. So these trays, the root trainer trays, I actually got from Gardener Supply, and they came with the proper domes for the trays. So that's really nice. I'm going to pop these on the shelf. They don't need a grow light until they're up. However, these grow lights are on because I already have plants, so they'll just be sitting there. It takes 14 to some odd days to germinate, 14 to 25 days to germinate. So we're gonna have to be patient to see some green coming out of these, but that's really exciting. Now I'm gonna label these with just a piece of tape on the side here instead of tag, because I don't have any tags right now. I need to stock up. This will work. Shades of Summer Verbascum. I'm so excited. Okay, now let's get into the envelope from Baker Creek Seeds. I'll show you what I ordered. Okay, I'm really excited for this. Now, I don't know a whole lot about each one of these because they're new to me, most of them. So this one is a Peruviana zinnia that grows about 2 feet tall and has super bright colored flowers. I thought that would be a really pretty one to add to the collection. We've got, this is a free one. I think they add into, they usually tuck an extra packet of seeds into the bag, but this is a Merlot Lettuce. We've got, oh, I got a bunch of tomatoes, you guys. There's one called Black Strawberry. How beautiful. 1 ounce fruit is marbled blue, scarlet, and gold, 60 day. A bowlful resembles a luminous bunch of gems, and the flavor is decadent and indulgent with perfect sweet and tart balanced flavor. A tomato called Blue Cream Berries, stunning cream amber cherries with purple blue splashes on shoulders, delicate complex flavor. I just thought that would be a really interesting one to try. Balsam called Peppermint Stick. Really interesting. It's an annual balsam variety, lovely red and white mottled single blooms. So these we're going to direct sow in May after danger of frost. Then we have a tomato called Castoluto Genovese, an heirloom slicer, beautiful. An old Italian favorite, intensely flavorful fruit are rather flattened, quite attractively ribbed. Bee Balm, spotted bee balm. I thought this would be pretty out. Well, either in a flower bed or out in the cut flower garden. And this one, we can direct sow after last frost, but I think I'm gonna add this to my sow 8 to 10 weeks before. So I think I'm gonna start these inside. Okay, this is the funny one. So I bought dandelion seeds. I mean, like, you know you're desperate in the wintertime when you buy dandelion seeds, but these are pink dandelion seeds, and apparently they're not invasive. So they're a wildflower from Central Asia, a much less prolific member of the dandelion family. The pastel blooms can be found growing along the forest edge lines. Doesn't that sound beautiful? Meadows and roadsides in its native range. And it's a huge pollinator attractor. So I thought this would be really fun to try in tubs, something that I can control maybe. I mean, it says it's much less prolific. I mean, I don't want it to become any kind of an issue, but I thought that would be so much fun to try. Tomato called Black Beauty. World's darkest tomato. Tomatoes turn solid blue-black on the skin. Oh. An echinacea called Paradiso, Super-Duper. Poppy called Hens and Chickens. I could actually do some of these in the winter sowing. This is a sunflower that I had never seen before called Astra Rose Cream. And some of these that I have doubles of I bought for my mom. So I'm going to be starting her a pile. Poppy called Cream Peony. Isn't that gorgeous? Look at the frilly white, beautiful petals on that. Ugh. Poppy called Mother of Pearl. Poppy called Frosted Salmon. Oh, there's another sunflower. Black Peony Poppy right there. Look at those. Oh no, Black Peony, Purple Peony. Oh, those are gonna be so much fun. A Snail Vine. I've not grown that one before, but it's super interesting. Native to Central and South America, President Thomas Jefferson, a devoted gardener, called it the most beautiful bean in the world. A poppy, heavy on poppies here, called Sussinghurst White. Scarlet Peony. A few more tomatoes here. There's Purple Rain, another heirloom that looks really interesting. The photography on Baker Creek's website is kind of like, you can't compare it to anything else. It's absolutely beautiful. It draws you in. It makes me want to buy all the seeds. Poppy called Supreme. Oh, poppy called Swan's Down. Oh my goodness. That is so pretty. A tomato called Spoon. So this is kind of like the red currant one I've grown in the past. I thought it would be fun to try this one and kind of compare the growth pattern. Oh, another snail vine here. A tomato called Dr. Wyche's yellow. Wyche's. Another heirloom yellow. I also really like the pineapple variety of heirloom, but I usually buy that one as plants. This is called Tong Ho Big Leaf. This is just really interesting. I really like the flowers on this one. They're daisy-like, kind of like osteospermum, almost, really. Chop suey greens, aka chop suey greens, extra large leaves and beautiful edible flowers make this a favorite in China. Leaves are thick, crunchy, savory, and scrumptious. And the flowers are 3 inches, a gourmet delicacy. Try them lightly fried tempura style, atop salads or as a tea. Really fun. Oh, more sunflowers. I think maybe I ordered her 2 packets of those, and a snail vine. Tomato called Orange Accordion. Isn't that cool? What is the day length? 80 days. That's not very long for an heirloom, is it? Easily reach 20 ounces each. Sweet, fruity flavored, juicy, meaty flesh. Tomato called Bosque Blue Bumblebee. This one looks an awful lot like one of the first ones that we looked at. That looks really similar. That one looks more red maybe, and this one more purple. Mountain Mint. So this one is Picanthamum. Generally perennial. It's a really good pollinator attractor plant. The blooms on it are gorgeous, and I kind of want to use it as a filler plant for arrangements. Boy, I ordered a lot of snail vine. I don't know quite what I was thinking. Gilia, is how you say that? Globe. It's kind of a wildflower, right? Annual West Coast native, globe-shaped, tightly packed clusters of sky blue to violet flowers. Sweetly scented, attracts pollinators. It's not frost hardy, so I don't know if this one self-seeds, but I thought this might be a kind of fun one to scatter around in the orchard. I think that'd be really pretty. And a zinnia called Redeemed Super Cactus, just something really unique. And a zinnia called Pink Senorita. So I don't think I've grown any of the varieties that I have here, which is really, really fun. So I'm excited to add these to my collection, and I think this year in the cut flower garden especially, I'm going to focus on planting a lot of things, of course, like normal, but instead of planting such a huge amount of one variety, I'm going to do smaller blocks. So like zinnias, I think I've got like between 25 and 30 varieties I want to grow, and I'm just going to do a small amount because I find myself when I have a huge amount of one variety, I don't know, like I feel like I could use more variety out there than just big blocks of the same thing. So that's kind of what my goal is for this next year, is pack a lot more variety out there. So we've got a lot of different interesting things to look at. And that's pretty much it for today's video. What a fun project to do today when it's all snowy outside and I feel like I'm already getting a jump start on next season's growing. So fun, and all kind of new stuff. Like the Verbascum is new to me. I've never started that one from seed. I'm not even sure I've had the plants before in my garden. I've always admired them, so I'm excited about that. And then of course all of these things are going to be new and different, and I'm excited to get seed tray started with these things. Usually when I get new loads of seed like this, I add them into my inventory. I have a spreadsheet going because I have a lot of seeds, and I add them in approximately how many, like sometimes they'll give me a seed count. Like it'll tell me on the spoon tomato, it has a minimum of 15 seeds in here. So I'll put that in so I know how many I have. And then I can kind of figure out if they need to be started 4 to 6 weeks, 6 to 8 weeks, or 8 to 10 weeks before your average last frost date. And then that way I can categorize everything, and I know like end of January, I need to come out and do the 8 to 10 week items. And then the next one I do in like late February, and so on and so forth. So I can try to stay as organized as possible. But I have showed you, I believe, that spreadsheet before in a seed haul video, but maybe we'll do more of a complete one and I'll show you more of the seeds I've got for this next year as well. Anyway, thank you guys so much for watching. I really do hope you enjoyed it. I hope it was helpful, and we will see you in the next one. Bye.